So Ray's our last speaker for this afternoon's session, and he'll be speaking on cows, calves, cameras, and more. Raymond Bittner is a 21-year-old veteran of the Department of Agriculture with a diverse background of ag-based production experiences. Ray has worked extensively on farm demonstrations and production system troubleshooting over his entire career. Ray is not only has the professional experience, but also the personal experience with his 100-year family farm, which he manages with his family. Ray also takes a keen interest in innovation and modern-day beef farming and has worked through the numbers behind practices. And at MBFI, we're very lucky to have Ray help us with a lot of troubleshooting and putting some of these technologies in practice, and we'll hear about that just as soon as he gets outfitted with his mic here. Ray Bittner to the stage here.
Is it good? Okay. I'm going to talk about cows, calves, cameras, and more. But before I get going, I'm going to caution everybody, I'm not a director, I'm not a cinematographer, I'm not an internet techie, I'm a farmer, and I work for Manitoba Agriculture. When I see interesting things, when I see cool things, I try them, and luckily I have one of the best jobs in the world. I work for Manitoba Agriculture, they provide me with a little money, sometimes I get to build stuff and show it off. So, with no further ado, let's go. So, cameras, opportunities and constraints. Really what it is the ability to check out what's happening without being there. So you can check the cows from the comfort of your house, from the warmth of your house, and get the job done. In the picture there, we can see a cow. She's licking an absolutely fresh, steaming baby. She's taking good care of it. In that case, you see that she licks the ears off. It's not too cold outside. You can let her mother up for the next half an hour before you want to take her to the barn, or just let her be. If she's taking good care of them, things will go well. So the second thing is it reduces unnecessary trips and optimizing your rest. What I want to do in this presentation is not so much show off the photographic abilities. They're great cameras. There's lots of things you can do with them. But I want to talk to you about the reason why you'd want to buy one. Why you'd want to go over to the distributors at the show here today and ask the price, ask the details, ask what might fit for your farm. I want to go through the justification with you. And this particular chart here hits me as one of the things that you might want to look at. What it is it's a stress-performance connection. Performance is on the side, low to high, and across the bottom is stress, low, medium, and high. So what it's trying to say is when you're in kind of a lazy scenario, you're just about at sleep, your performance is low. To me, that's like November, after the cattle are weaned, the snow's starting to fall, the days are getting short, you're not getting much done. Then come, the weeks just coming up on calving season, you get to that state of alertness. You're getting the pens ready, you're cleaning everything out, the days are getting longer, you're starting to actually accomplish things in your life. Optimal stress is, the time when the cows are really starting to calve. They're getting really coming fast and heavy. You got to take good care of everything, and your mind is really working good. Everything is in sync. Now what can happen is you get some of those days when, depending on the size of your herd, you get a big rush of calves, and all of a sudden it starts snowing, the wind starts blowing, you get overly stressed, you've been short of sleep for a long time, and all of a sudden your ability to perform as a cow-calf producer delivering those calves starts to drop off. And then the worst thing happens, maybe a few of them die, the stress gets too high, and all of a sudden you're at the point of disorganization. Maybe a cow cam can stop you from getting into that high stress area where you get disorganized. Maybe it'll save a few calves, not just because you've seen them being born and can pull them out of the frost, but the fact that you're lucid, you're there, you're still performing well. Maybe that's the one justification you need to buy a cow cam. So, that's what cow cams can do for you, and I think that's the justification to do them. But cow cams don't make cows calve easier. That's still going to be the same old thing. Cow cameras don't make calves suck quicker. That's still the same old thing. However, what I think is important is if you have the awareness that, cow X on your last check was about to calf. You know that within 3 hours she should be calving based on her size, age, and what's going on. You know, if something's going wrong, you can kind of watch that cow from the house and not have to go outside. And then if it's taking too long, you can pop that calf out. And then what will happen is you'll be more ready to have that calf sucking. So it doesn't make the calf suck better, but it makes you better prepared. The other things about cow calves is you won't see all the points in your farmyard. So you still have to go outside. You can't just solely rely entirely on them. You need to actually get out there once in a while. And cameras only see in the direction in which they're pointing. So a lot of people criticize, well, you know, there can always be a cow calf in the back and I'll miss it. But there's some things you can do. So this is a photograph of my yard. I actually, after seeing how these cow cams work, I invested in it and I thought it was a good investment. So this is my yard. Point A up at the top there is my house. Point B is my parents' house. Point C is the calving barn. And the star, which I'm going to use the rest of, is the camera. So whenever you see a star in my diagrams here, that's the camera. The white lines are the portable windbreaks or permanent windbreaks. And the star is or the camera is in an interesting spot in that my plan is I can see just about every part of my calving pens from one single camera. One single investment allows me to look in just about any direction and even do my calving. So when you're setting up a new feedlot or removing some fences and rejigging things, have your mind set up, I'm going to try and make the calving cam most useful by putting it in the right spot. So watch this video carefully. You see the cow in the back of this shelter? You can see hanging from the back there's a water bag. That's how far at night that these cameras can work for. That's about 200 yards that you can actually zoom in and actually check the cows in a building with no light. There's light on the outside of the building, but you know, that is, it still blows me away. I've seen this video dozens of times, and it still blows me away that you can see that far, that the camera has that much lighting ability and that much ability to see into a building from that distance. Now, no doubt there's cows in front of that cow right now, but what you can do once you know that cow is calving, you go back and check 20 minutes later. Sure enough, she stands up. Sure enough, a few minutes after that, I seen, you know, the calf's ears were up, calf was starting to stand up. I had no fears. So it's amazing what you can do. I'm not going to show a whole bunch of videos because, you know, you can go over to, you know, Allen Lee or Ross Tech and they'll show you how these cameras work. But I just want to go through the justifications here. So when you go over to visit those booths, you're going to get hit with a whole bunch of jargon, like IP is internet provider. Basically, an IP camera is a very high quality video. There's really never any fuzz. Either it works or it doesn't. It's just usually almost excellent viewing ability. What it does is it goes through a Wi-Fi system on your farm. You don't have to have the internet, but it can be helpful. You can view it from your TV, a smart TV, a computer, an iPad, a cell phone. If you want, you can set it up to view it over a mile away from your calving facility, or miles if you set it up in the right way. The old style systems were analog systems. Generally, they're extinct now, but you might find a really cheap deal on something. And they're the ones, they did work, they were quite reliable, but on the flip side, you know, you'd see snow in the picture and poor picture quality, and it's probably just about gone. But IP is the way to go with current cameras. So the next thing is when you see deals, like, you know, we've got something for $1,500 or something like that, quite often what you're going to get is a fixed camera that points at one place in a barn or one specific calving spot where you've physically put a cow. So that's useful to a degree, but probably more useful and what most people want to see is a pan, tilt, zoom camera, a PTZ. So basically what you can do is you can look up, you can turn it all the way around, you can zoom in, and what the details of these are is how much magnification you got. You can buy 1 to 10, 1 to 25, 1 to 30. So if you buy to 30, you can zoom it in 30 times. So the video you've seen earlier was like a 1 to 30, so you can be 200 yards back and get right in there and really see very accurately to very small things that are happening. The next thing I want to go through is the parts of an IP camera system. First of all, the Wi-Fi bridge. That's the two items in the center of the screen, the one with little antennas and the little white box. Those are basically the Wi-Fi bridge. It's what carries the camera signal to your house or the camera signal from your house to another building. It's really the communication system. The white box in the bottom corner is an NVR, or a network video recorder. And a network video recorder is critical because that's what controls, takes your mouse movements, that controls where the camera is pointing. It can also record so that you can go back and see what you got. It's a critical part of a system. And the last thing is a Wi-Fi router. That's what gets it, the signal around your house and gets it to your cell phone, gets it to your smartphone, so forth. The next thing is in order to get that video that I took, it has to have infrared illumination. And you need a good strength illuminator to be able to see as far. Like if you can see 200 yards in the dark, that is quite incredible. So that's something you'll need too. Some people maybe have the misconception that a camera can view my entire yard or can view everything that's going on around it. Well, that would only happen if you had a fisheye camera, and that's quite often what they use in stores and over top of cash registers and stuff like that. I think maybe in the future there may be a place for fisheye cameras, but there's a negative to them too. A fisheye camera is taking up a lot of data because it's looking everywhere, 360 degrees all the way around you. So it's a lot of data to store, and it's a little bit more difficult to use and harder to get real good visual accuracy. The picture at the bottom is an example of a 3D picture, and it's kind of wild. I took this at MBFI one day with a fisheye camera I was using. If you look at the left side of the screen, you see a tree line. If you look at the right side of the screen, you see a tree line. That's exactly the same tree line. You're actually looking at the entire 360-degree view around you. It was kind of a neat video in that what we could do is we could actually monitor the workers working at the chute, walking back and forth and doing all their work. So, you know, in the case of like a big flood or something like that, this would be great for making sure that everybody's doing their job right, or at least the staff would know that, you know, somebody's caring to watch. Next slide. The guy with the camera presentation is stalled. Oh, okay. So the next thing that's quite interesting that probably many of you will like about a Wi-Fi bridge system is looking at the same yard here with A, B, and C. A is my house, B is my parents' house, C is the calving barn, and the star is the camera. But the interesting thing about it is I'm the only one who subscribes to the internet, A, and my parents in house B have the same internet, so they can check the weather, go and surf, whatever they want. We only have one internet bill, so that's kind of a feature in itself, you know, save yourself maybe $100 a month. The other thing about it is, at my mom and dad's house, they have access to the cow cam too. So when I'm busy, standing in Brandon or something like that, I can get a call saying, I see toes coming out of a cow. Hopefully it doesn't happen today. But what it comes to, if you have somebody in your yard who's taking care of things and has time to look around and you don't have time to look around, they can be your eyes and ears. They don't have to wander amongst the cows if they're elderly. It works great. I know one farm in the Interlake area, I think they have 4 or 5 cameras, and the mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, she just sits there and she cruises around, checks the cows. When something bad's happened, she gets on the phone, and you know, it's many phone calls a day because the boys are out feeding and they're busy people, so it works. It does work good. Okay, the other thing about Wi-Fi bridges is you can go quite a ways. You don't have to be in the same yard. You don't have to be 100 feet away. There's my yard, the star, with the camera. We could quite easily go 1.5 miles to 2 miles with that same system. And as long as there's no trees in the way, you got line of sight from antenna to antenna, it will work fine. And it's as quick as if you're standing right there. So definitely something you might want to think about if you have, a large yard, or, you live in a different place as your parents, or however it works. What this got me to thinking about is, with the Wi-Fi bridges and being able to be away from the yard, why don't we make it portable? So this is where the Manitoba Agriculture and the MBFI, Manitoba Beef and Forage Initiatives Farm come in. I said, why don't we build a portable? So what we did is we built a sled, put some solar panels on, and we're able to tow that around anywhere we want on the MBFI farm. And this is how that is helpful. In the case of my farm, what I could do is, if I wanted to calve cows on any of those points where I have, wells and ability to feed cattle, you can have your cow cam anywhere you want. So here's the cow cam a little bit up closer. I have an IP camera right up at the top of the post. The post is able to be laid down so that if you have to go under hydro wires or through the bush or something, you can do that. Up at the top of the post is also the Wi-Fi bridge. That's the white thing with the antennas. We have 400-watt solar panels. We have some weight blocks so that the thing doesn't tip over in a heavy wind and smash a $2,000 camera. And we have a battery box. In the battery box, we got 4 6-volt golf cart batteries. We also have a low voltage disconnect and an indicator for what actually is happening with the batteries. With the indicator, we can tell how much solar charge there is, what the battery voltage is, what the draw is. We can also tell how high the voltage of the batteries got during the day. We can also tell what the battery's bottom. So we can tell the condition of the batteries. So we've got a lot of information available to us. So there it is. MBFI uses it at their Brookdale farm. If you're ever able to tour Brookdale farm, quite often we show it off and let you see actually how it all looks. So how much does this all cost? In the case of what we built at MBFI there, the steel sled cost $900 custom built. The solar power system was $1,900. The concrete blocks were a couple hundred. The camera, the bridge, the NVR was $3,200. So this is the complete working system. All we had to throw on top of that was a computer monitor. So $6,200. Yes, it's real money, especially on difficult years. But if you can save a few calves and make things work better on your farm and not get to that point of frustration, maybe it's well worth it. On a regular farm, I can anticipate a lot of people will be doing this instead of building the sled. That's probably not a bad thing. We'll put a $200 in the budget. We'll put some miscellaneous items, like an old truck might have to have the suspension bolted down so that the camera doesn't rock in the wind or something like that. You need to do a few things. Solar power system, still going to be $1,900. Camera system, NVR, $3,200. So a total of $5,600. Maybe we shave off a few $100s to help you out with that. So here's an example of a daytime example. And we're watching the cow right in the middle here. That's a case of we're able to read her ear tag very visibly, very easily. It's not always perfect. Cows have a tendency to not want to look at you when you want them to look at you. But that's the way cows are. You can see when she has behaviors like this, as she starts rolling and doing funny things. Once you become being a cattleman a little while, you just start noticing these strange behaviors. She's calving. You can see the bag coming out already. You can see the calf coming out. And you can see a healthy calf. She's starting to lick it off. She's starting to do some work on the ears to make sure they don't freeze off. And everything's healthy. He's already got his head up. So, if you can be in your house confident that this is all working just fine, you can be doing your book work. You can do other things. be confident that things are good outside. So, going beyond that, our camera is useful in feedlots. I think this really has a fit. There's always going to be a place for the cowboy to go out and grab the calf and go and treat it. But sick animals have a tendency to disguise their symptoms in presence of predators. And predators are humans. A man on a horse or a man on foot or a man on a four-wheeler is a predator. They will hide their behaviors, but if you see this calf standing on his own in the back, I think everybody in this room can identify that looks like a sick calf. So all you have to do is figure out where it is, and then you can bring it in. At feeding time, it's a terrible time to go look for sick calves. The calves are all moving and milling. They're a little bit nervous. You know, when they're on their own, you can really tell. And early detection of sickness is great if you can get them before they die. That's the main thing. You know, having a feedlot camera up above the cattle can really work. An example would look something like this. On a commercial-sized feedlot, you know, how many cameras would you need? Well, I kind of challenge that something like this would probably work. If you place the camera in the middle of 8 one-acre feedlots, and we put 200 head in each of those squares, we got 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, 1,600. You probably could fairly adequately monitor 1,600 head with one camera. You know, it does cost you something to have somebody hired to sit and look at the camera and go prowl around, but maybe it's well worth it. The other thing I didn't mention earlier when I said about the portable calving cam on the sled, the other thing you can do about it is if you're worried about your waters freezing up in wintertime, you can have your calving camera right over top your waterer and take a look. Is the waterer working? Yes, it is. Is there anything going on? Is there any predators or anything around there? No? Okay, we don't have to go out there right now. The other thing you can do is take that sled or take that permanent camera, plug it in, put it at the end of your driveway, look down your driveway, and you're able to do some farmyard security. Not every camera will be able to read license plates, but it's a very good deterrent. If I was to put up a calving camera on your road, I would put up a sign and make people understand that they are on video. The sign might be just as good a deterrent for theft as the camera itself. Overall, I'd like to thank MBFI for working with me and keeping the cow cam running. MBFI is where Mary Jane works, and we thank her for her participation. And that's it for my presentation. Is there any questions in the audience here? Any questions? Yes, middle.
Are those cameras wireless?
Okay, good question. Are the cameras wireless? Yeah, absolutely. They are wireless. They can be at any point on the farm, especially with the solar panels, because the solar panels allow you to not have to plug it into electricity. As long as there's a straight line of sight between the antenna of your house and the antenna of the camera, it can be just about anywhere on your farm home section. Yeah. Any other questions? Up at the back. Okay, I think I heard the question right. Have I ever had problems with the camera icing up? What typically happens is the cameras do have little heaters, and they are able to heat the glass and generally keep the snow from staying on there. And generally it'll dry the droplets off. That's probably the better way to go. Some of the cameras have little windshield wipers, but they went away from that because it's a little bit hokey, and sometimes they get dirty and they just spread dirt around. But the interesting thing about the heaters is it's actually one of the main power users. So when we power a camera with a solar panel batteries, most of the energy is actually going to keep the lens clean and dry. So, but yes, it does work. As far as the solar panels, in winter in Manitoba, we generally place them so vertically to face the sun that you don't have a lot of snow buildup. Whereas for summertime use, where you want to pump a lot of water, the panels lay back a lot. So you'll want to have adjustable panels if you use them in summer versus winter, because a laying back panel, of course, will collect a lot of snow. So for wintertime cameras, cow cameras, during calving season, generally the panels will be just about vertical, and they'll still be nicely facing the sun. So, yeah, up at the back. Okay, so the question is in a place where you have a lot of trees around you, what you have to do, the key thing is you need eye-to-eye sight. If you can climb your house, if you put a tall tower at your house, and you put a tall enough tower at your camera, you can always go across the trees. Now, whether you want to go to that cost of building towers that tall, that's kind of the question. But if you can get above the trees, it will always work. Sometimes it's just a line of trees, or it's just a shelter belt tree right around your house. Maybe some trimming of a tree might help, because you have to think it's only like a 6-inch wide beam that you have to get rid of. So it may be just one branch you have to get rid of. But if you're above trees, it'll work always. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I work for Manitoba Agriculture. If you Google Raymond Bittner and Manitoba Agriculture, you'll probably get a hold of me and my phone number, and you can give me a call, and I'll try and guide you through the process. Thank you. Thank you.